My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California.
It is currently August 12th, 2024. It's 4:48 p.m. And if you are paying attention to the documentation, there's a full body of documentation that coexists with everything that I capture. It's not just the podcast, it is the images and the videos, which is also published onto the venue of the internet. All of this creates what is the full picture of the criminal system that the state of California is engaging in, and it is serving for the federal prosecution of the state of California. On this day, it's August 12, 2024, this is just documentation speaking to impunity. That's the basis for, again, enhancement to federal charges and sentencing of the sex offender that is the state of California acting through via commercial actors such as Courtyard by Marriott and Huntington at Oaks Center in what is MONROVIA, California, which is directly across the street. This is a facilitating venue where the fake sun is remaining directly over me and they are in relevant position. Those are demons that are pacing all around. That's what I'm capturing images of, is just like I captured as I went right across the street to Panda Express. Panda Express is an illegitimate company. They're engaged in state surveillance. They're terrorists, and they're engaging in state surveillance of an American citizen in a private space, and they're engaging in what is psychotic conduct. Molestation is occurring inside of their venue. Molestation is occurring right outside of the doors of their venue. Molestation is occurring while they're all in relevant position, monitoring and engaging in federal stalking with the rest of the entity, acting both directly and vicariously. Panda Express is a terrorist. Okay, they're engaged in state surveillance, and it's an illegitimate company, in other words, and that is relevant for RICO charges, which is not outside of, but it is relevant to the federal prosecution for state surveillance, which is federal group stalking and monitoring, and federal stalking. RICO charges directly apply to what it is I'm exposing about the state of California. Nonetheless, I'm referencing that because the entity that is filled with demons who you see on video, group stalking, this is the same demonic behaviors of demons who fill the courtyards at Marriott at 700 West Huntington Drive in Monrovia, California. And they are engaging in what is ongoing harassment as an entity, a demon-possessed one that is engaged in criminal surveillance, which is terrorism by the state that is keeping you under surveillance. And while that entity is keeping you under surveillance, they are demon-possessed while engaging in stalking you under the malicious guise of operating a business. That's Courtyard by Marriott. That's Huntington Oaks shopping center across the street. For example, that's the people of the state, the demons that are pacing on the 210 freeway. It's not traffic, it's criminal presence in the path. And that's why it's amplified in volume. The impossible occurrence of hearing any of that traffic on the 210 freeway. That is the admission of demons who are stalking you. The impossibility of light ricocheting off of the sides of your car while you're driving by. That's the admission of demons who are stalking you. The presence of a light source that could not possibly be the sun, indicative of an unnatural environment that surrounds you. The admission of an entity that is demon possessed that is stalking you. This is speaking to what the state of California is engaging in Courtyard by Marriott is filling its venue where the fake sun remains over this hotel, which I captured in images and screen images. Remember, as early as 7:49 in the morning, and what is 4:51 p.m. right now. I'm capturing the fake sun well after this time yesterday as I'm in the parking lot, and that's also where the entity is stalking in helicopter. Okay, that's the prosecution, civil and criminal, of the demons who are engaging in what is posing an impermissible threat, acting with impunity, engaged in federal stalking while they do so. So the demons that are engaged in criminal surveillance, they engage in concerted acts of harassment and terrorism. That is exhibiting your demonic condition, which is terrorizing to the ordinary person. So this is how demon possession, this is how the demonic behaviors of the entity is under no circumstances accepted from the prosecution. It's directly relevant to the ways in which the entity is engaged in terrorism and the ways in which the entity poses an unlawful threat to your life, while such psychopaths, sex offenders, and delusional stalkers, obsessed stalkers, inexplicable obsession based on what is demon possession, and doing so while they are seeking to engage in criminal acts of obstruction of justice. This is sensational activity that coexists with my uploading documentation onto the venue of the internet. That is the bedroom wall shaking and vibrating, the headboard in my hotel room, which is on the 5th floor, which is facing the parking lot where you can see Panda Express in Huntington Oaks Center, where the fake sun is visible at 7:49 in the morning, and it's still visible as I captured pictures at 5 p.m. yesterday over that same exact parking lot while it remains over me. That's how you know what fills this hotel room. And the entire entity, just like the entire entity that lived at third-party facilitating venue Alvarado Gardens, are going to federal prison. And they are acting with impunity, showing the ways in which they are disregarding the law, which the federal judge presiding over their cases is going to be very well reminded of. These are the details that I want to capture. The entity is engaged in ongoing acts of terrorism. That's amplified audible activity, sensational activity, demons that are stalking by maintaining presence in the hallway. I captured an aged third-party group stalker, a Caucasian woman with blonde hair. She's stalking in the hallway, first of all, by virtue of presence. Everybody in the venue is a stalker. And I mean, it just makes you a readily identified stalker when you check in or when you work at the venue. They're all stalking. Okay, so the cockroaches are fully exposed. The entity is engaging in stalking by crossing paths in the hotel. The entity engages in stalking with audible activity. That's terrorism. While demons are following, that is mirroring, engaging in their demonic behaviors, which is monitoring you. Monitoring is the criminal system of surveillance for which the population will be prosecuted for domestic terrorism in concert with the state of California, engaging in domestic terrorism, not different or distinct from any terrorist coming from abroad. This is exactly how they will be treated under federal laws. So the entity that's engaging in domestic terrorism, while you are employing demonic methods of surveilling someone while you're monitoring them, you're doing so in a commercial, at a commercial venue where their entire business is used for the criminal purpose that is helping the state of California conspire to murder and kidnap a person. That's why you're engaging in criminal surveillance group stalking. They are filling the hotel rooms, walking in and out on surveillance cameras and all around the property on surveillance cameras, on traffic cameras. The entity is in relevant position, living all around Courtyard by Marriott, traveling on the 210 freeway, traveling in relevant position and maintaining presence, working at all the all the surrounding venues, and also shopping, being consumers. It's all documentation of the population that's engaged in criminal conduct and exercising no privacy rights, while demons remain present, stalking in close quarters at Courtyard by Marriott, where the fake sun remains planted over the building all day long, and the entity is engaging in terrorism such as stalking with audible activity, stalking with stalking with sensational activity. This is the creation of great earthquakes, and not the earthquakes. This is the second earthquake, by the way, that I want to make sure I mention since I've been at Courtyard by Marriott in MONROVIA, California. KCAL, which is a third-party group stalker, that's the people of the state that are reporting on the earthquakes that have occurred in the Southern California region. I want to be clear what it is that I'm revealing, what it is that I'm documenting, what it is that I'm prosecuting. The very demon-possessed population. It is directly relevant to what are, again, not natural occurrences, not the natural environment. Satan is very well capable of not only placing a fake sun, but you're talking about the sensational activity. It's within the pattern of conduct. While 2 large earthquakes have occurred while I stayed at Courtyard by Marriott, I just want to point that out to you. And including while I am inside of the venue, on the venue of the internet, using a communication device, that's the television. KCAL5 is a third-party group stalker. They are the demon-possessed who are reporting the news to you, and they are speaking about earthquakes. This is the second since I've been at MONROVIA, and it's a means of harassment. It's a means of terrorism. It's a means of the same exact pattern of conduct. While the demons are stalking in the path, group stalking inside of the venue, the Courtyard by Marriott, group stalking in the sky space, group stalking all around. It's not the ordinary acts of God, as we would refer to it, in the same way that it's not the natural environment that surrounds me. So I just want to point that out also. It's a means of the demons who are terrorizing. It is the work of Satan, while all of Satan's minions are engaging in criminal conduct that they're going to be individually prosecuted for as they act as an entity. And I want to make sure I specifically document. And on today, August 12, 2024, you have demons that are providing evidence against them, against all the preceding demons who are already, whose names, identification, location, license plate, whatever it is that I captured about them. And all the other surrounding circumstances, which is speaking to no removal, who you are, and your criminal conduct, which will be prosecuted, something analogous to strict liability basis, because the foundation has been laid. They are providing evidence against the entire entity while they act as the entity. Group stalking in a hotel where nothing that you're doing is ever going to create an earthquake. And while you have the pattern of since I'm at Courtyard by Marriott and I document the demonic behaviors of the people of the state, so then you have what is the same exact pattern of conduct that's supposed to occur under the guise of the natural environment, natural occurrences, so-called acts of God. This is not a naturally occurring earthquake, if you will. This is not the natural environment. This is not the natural working of what's going on, the and plate tectonics and what you've learned about what's going on. This is Satan. This is Satan that's witnessing its own demise, witnessing its exposure. Demons are pacing in and out of their hotel rooms, which make up, by the way, on the 5th floor, the demons that are maintaining criminal presence and providing direct evidence of their presence, which is serving for their federal prosecution. And I mean the demon possessed that are 85 and older, 18 years old and younger. You will not avoid prosecution. The entity is acting with specific knowledge while they're engaged in federal stalking. All of this is relevant to the foundation that's already laid. So now you have the pattern of conduct that's underway at Courtyard by Marriott in Monrovia. And the demons who are maintaining criminal presence, engaging in criminal surveillance, in other words. Demons is relevant to the terrorism that the entity is engaging in and practicing with real-time knowledge of their documented criminal conduct while they're engaging in Title 18, 2261A subsections 1 and 2, federal stalking. So the demons that are stalking you are also keeping you under surveillance on the venue of the internet. And I am subject to ongoing acts of demonic methods to terrorize and harass, which Courtyard by Marriott will compensate me for, also while they will be prosecuted as violent sex offenders. And the rooms on the 5th floor that surround rooms 501 to 519. And their engagement as they're walking in and out of the hotel building, as they're walking, getting on and off of the elevators, as they're going up and down the staircase, as they're coming in and out of their rooms, the key card, all of this is documentation within the business records that Courtyard by Marriott will turn over and more for the prosecution of the people of the state. This is in concert with the demons who are group stalking at the shopping center adjacent to Courtyard by Marriott, which is only one venue. Remember, PetSmart, the adjacent Embassy Suites, the Hilton Hotel, the Motel 6 in Arcadia. They're in relevant position. This is massive surveillance that's underway. I just go from place to place and document because I'm one person and I cannot be omnipresent like the Lord Jesus Christ. But I'm doing my part, and everyone's going to be prosecuted for what everyone is doing together. And so while the entity is engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct at the facilitating venue where I remain, Huntington Oaks Center is merely one venue where they will be civilly and criminally prosecuted, and I will be compensated for the state surveillance that they are engaging in concert with Courtyard, in concert with the demons that are filling the hotel rooms at Courtyard, in concert with everyone else. It's a statewide system, in concert with the corrupt fire departments. A Lifeline ambulance, you saw FedEx. I captured in images, you saw SoCal Gas. They're engaged in federal stalking and criminal surveillance, civil and criminal prosecution. And by the way, Lifeline ambulance is nothing other than the same criminal system underway by Falk Ambulance, by Arcadia Fire Department, by Ontario Fire Department, who uses their ambulances, American Medical Response. It does not change. It's the same P.O.C. You're talking about another brand, and I will prosecute them. And so they're engaging in surveillance openly in the specific environment, parked alongside third-party facilitating venue, Huntington Oaks Center, and Panda Express, where the fake sun is captured at 5 p.m. The same location where it's at 7:49 a.m. over me. At the same address, same location. Okay, and that's how you're identifying malice. That's how you're identifying federal stalking. That's how you're identifying how a demon-possessed population is openly engaging in criminal conduct in plain sight. So this is capturing the substance of the images that I captured. This will also, speaking to, I want to capture criminal acts of obstruction of justice, not only the harassment and the terrorism by a demon-possessed entity that are engaging in ongoing acts while a sex offense is underway. I'm inside of a private space while the entity is monitoring and engaging in federal stalking. But not only that, the acts of obstruction, this is the prosecution of Google and YouTube. And this is as what I continue to document while I am the only person that has any right, first of all, to access my folders that have been created for the sole purpose of documenting the state of California. The same state that's engaged in criminal surveillance and federal stalking is also acting with the criminal purpose to obstruct justice, blocking the ability to access such evidence, and people are going to federal prison for it. And I mean, any Google executive, any YouTube employee obstructing justice will sit in a federal cell. You can mark my words. Why is it so serious? Because people are being murdered and people are being kidnapped by the government. And where you want to work to operate, there will be no place, no toleration whatsoever with regard to seeking to obstruct justice and conceal evidence by blocking, and that is literally making it up an obstruction to for your ability to access your evidence. And that is what I captured in screenshots. Google, which again, whether or not it's actually Google or the demon-possessed entity, the MONROVIA Police Department, the people of the state that are engaged in federal stalking, creating superficial whatever that you don't have to, and the target individual does not have to figure that out. The onus is on the entity, and whoever and whatever is blocking your ability to access evidence of their conspiracy to murder and kidnap you. Very real people will go to federal prison for that. And so I'm documenting that where I'm at, where I'm experiencing these criminal acts of obstruction of justice is also relevant, because the people of the state are group stalking, engaged in federal stalking, relevant to obstruction of justice, while they're all sitting back and watching their exposure in real time. I'm publishing the evidence onto YouTube. YouTube is a third party. Any criminal acts of obstruction of justice, there is no fraudulent acts with my Google accounts. Obviously, I'm creating them a very serious purpose that I'm doing, and I'm also establishing precedent how any ordinary person will be able to, in the same way, establish a basis to prosecute the state government that's keeping them under surveillance. And you're doing so in the same way that I would. And they don't even have to do as much as I've done. I've established precedent. It takes a prolonged period of time. There's more things that I have had to endure with regard to showing how any other person has the ability and the right under existing constitutional laws to enforce their rights against the state government, just like I have. And the people of the state are the state government. That's the illusion that's going on. The people of the state are in the shoes of the state. You're being kept under surveillance, and it's demonic. So it's the prosecution of the state of California, just as it is the prosecution of the state of Nevada. Okay, while I'm capturing the fake sun over me from 7:49 in the morning to where it's out over me at the same time at the Courtyard by Marriott in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's over me and at 700 West Huntington Drive in MONROVIA, California, Courtyard by Marriott. Okay, 2 different states, same exact position over me at the same time in 2 different states. That's not the sun. That's speaking to what the entity is doing. It is a criminal act of obstruction of justice. This is no ordinary obstruction. A government conspiring to murder and kidnap you, and you want to in any way impede on that ongoing investigation, which the ordinary target individual will take command of it themselves, because they're going to upload the information onto the internet themselves. And the people of the state that are on venues, you're not operating a free business online. The government that's engaged in group stalking is engaging in surveillance online. Your website then becomes a venue. And so there's a whole different landscape, and anything that is impeding on their ability to protect literally their life, people will go to federal prison for it. And it will not be a mystery. You're going to get down to exactly who was going, because people are going. That's the only way that you're going to deter the entity from seeking to murder. And I've shown the mental illness while they continuously engage in it. You're talking about capturing group stalking in plain sight. There's no reasonable question about what's going on as I'm capturing the appearance of vehicles moving around on the streets and on the freeways and parked along the sidewalks and along the buildings. I literally captured video yesterday after 4 or 5 p.m. and the demons are pacing back and forth in engineer light under a fake sun. Okay, so there's no reasonable question about what they're doing. That same entity is maintaining presence inside of the hotel, stalking with the same entity that you saw flying in a helicopter under that which is not possibly the sun. That's over me, in conformity to the pattern of conduct. That's the entity that's exercising no business operation. You're talking about what is an inevitable penetration by the feds with regard to exposing what, if anything, you had to do with any obstruction to the ordinary target individual's ability to upload or, in other words, expose what they're subject to, where they're subject to it. Getting in the way of accessing a Google Drive folder that has evidence of a police department that's conspiring to murder and kidnap someone by stalking them, harassing them, and terrorizing them in helicopter while the demon-possessed people of the state are group stalking with them. It is absurd to entertain in your mind that you will be subject to anything less than federal prison. It is patently absurd, because that's exactly where you're going. So the entity is doing so, and I want to document it. Is again the folder, the pattern of conduct folder number 82. I am uploading video documentation. It is supplemental regarding what it is when I do screen recordings, for example, and I'm showing literally the videos that I uploaded either on that day or the day before. That date is speaking to the last time. After I fill it up, it gets to 15 gigs. I go on to the next folder. I'm not playing in these folders. The entity is engaging in conduct and creating a superficial obstruction. Whether it's actually the case or not, anyone playing, they're engaged in Title 18. They are the ones that are engaging in chicanery with my websites, or it's not even existing at all, and the entity is just making up information to block access. Either way, the entity itself will suffer the federal repercussions for it. It's obstruction, period. And you go to federal prison for that. And it's relevant where I'm at. I'm in MONROVIA. The entity is engaged in Title 18, the MONROVIA Police Department, the MONROVIA Fire Department, the heads of such departments, the Huntington Oak Center, everybody in relevant position with regard to prosecuting for all criminal acts of obstruction of justice, while it is under no circumstances stopping the ongoing exposure for what the state of California and now what the world knows the state of Nevada is fully engaging in. Because while the fake sun remains over me from 7:49 a.m. until after 5 p.m. in Monrovia, there's no sun anywhere in the state of Nevada. It remains directly over me. That's exclusive with regard to what's supposedly the sun. Then that's what was that over my head at Courtyard by Marriott in Las Vegas, Nevada at 7:49 in the morning, because it's not possibly the sun, while it's documented remaining stagnant at one address and then also in movement to the state of Nevada. The two aren't happening at the same time. That's impossible. So also is the demonic engagement in what is supposed to be an earthquake, while the demon-possessed, the corrupt entity, the people of the state report to you the news about earthquakes. And I want to make sure that I point that out. So this is speaking to what is the pattern of conduct the entity is engaged in ongoing. These are the mentally ill. They provide evidence against themselves. Every demon checking in and out, every demon going in and out of their room, every demon getting on and off the elevator, every demon walking in and out and around the building, and everyone around, every business, every traffic camera. Okay, the ways in which the entity is providing evidence against itself that it has not even thought of yet. There is no escape from this entity's prosecution, and every ploy to do so, to obstruct justice, is adding on years in federal prison, period. Because you're talking about murdering people and kidnapping American citizens. That's the whole point of this. And you're trying to avoid being identified in that. You are a mentally ill psychopath who deserves to sit in federal prison. You deserve what's coming for you. And that's why I'm documenting it on podcast. So the entity that is, again, on the 6th floor and on the 4th floor, those are the demons that are maintaining immediate presence and proximity all around me in close quarters. They are merely speaking to the criminal presence that the entity is maintaining. The 210 freeway, that's criminal presence. That's not traffic. I'm speaking to what is the reality, the fact that Satan is real and Satan is using an entire population against one person who is prosecuting it and exposing it. And this is speaking to laws that shall come into existence in order to enforce your constitutional rights. And also to educate the feds about the reality of Satan, if you didn't know. And how, the reality, this isn't just for the benefit of your soul. If you don't know the Lord Jesus Christ, then you need to know him as your personal Lord and Savior. Okay, but it's also for the good, in order to educate about the ways in which the state governments, the state, in this country, to prosecute and expose public corruption. That's why. That's how the feds are also going to utilize this information. It's currently, again, 5:10 p.m. The entity is engaged in the ongoing acts of terrorism, amplified audible activity, sensational activity, and they do so while Title 18 criminal conduct is underway. Where I am is also relevant, but this is something that, again, speaker companies is going to be prosecuted. This is exactly what they were engaging in. They do not cease to be a part of the same entity while I've moved to just a different physical location. It's the same entity, and it's speaking to what is enhancement to federal charges and sentencing. Okay, the mentally ill that are obsessively surveilling and stalking an American citizen for the criminal purpose to conspire to murder and kidnap that American citizen will go to federal prison for that. Period. It's a mass crime, and there will be mass justice, mass arrests, mass raids, whatever justice requires. Period. Whatever justice requires. So it's currently 5:11 p.m. on August 12, 2024, and this is a facilitating venue Courtyard by Marriott, again at 700 West Huntington Drive in Monrovia, California, documenting the perpetual sex offense that Courtyard by Marriott will be prosecuted for, exposing Courtyard by Marriott, which is nothing other than the people of the state. You can exchange Courtyard by Marriott with any commercial actor's name. Every business in the state of California is a terrorist. This is what the state is engaging in. In other words, there is no legitimate business. They are all in relevant position. The state is engaged in state surveillance, and they use any and every commercial means or whatever the entity has at their own disposal to maintain the elements of monitoring, practice federal group stalking and monitoring, and engaging in federal stalking on the venue of the internet with communication devices with the criminal purpose to keep an American citizen under surveillance. That is literally the language of Title 18. Okay, so it is again 5:12 p.m. and this is P.O.C.